Hi, I'm John DiBiase. Welcome to Disabilities Journal. Today I have with me Eileen Egan, the Executive Director of Community Mainstream Associates, and Lisa Fertel, Executive Director of East End Disability Association and IGHL. This morning's show will discuss the changes in the system, including the way families interact and can now serve people with developmental disabilities, and self-direction, which is a new or fairly new service that we provide. And without further ado, Eileen and Lisa. Hi guys, thank you for coming. I'd like to talk a little bit about the way that our services have evolved over the last 40 years. When a person was admitted to our programs, it was generally you went to a group home, you went to program, came back to the group home, and that was pretty much an individual's life. We've gotten away from that as much as we possibly can. And person-centered planning has changed to include self-direction. And I'd like to talk a little bit today about what self-direction is, how you get into it, what it means, and how it's really an improvement over going from a group home to a day program and back to the group home. So go ahead, shoot.
Start.
Go ahead, Lisa.
Well, thanks so much for having us on to talk about these important topics. Self-direction has really been very different in our field. That started back in, I think, 2015. Started in New York State, and the differences between those traditional services that you were just describing and self-direction is that you have the opportunity to basically create your entire day, your entire year. You can make decisions about where you want to live, who you want to live with, what kinds of things you want to do during the day. Is it a day program? Do you want to volunteer? Do you want to work in the community? And you are a very active participant in creating your budget. So self-direction, you know, just like we make our budgets for our lives, the person that's enrolled in self-direction has that opportunity to work with a broker and a care manager and really come up, and a fiscal intermediary, I should say. And the fiscal intermediary pays the bills. The broker helps develop the budget, and the care manager makes sure that all those components are adhered to. So you can decide that you want to live in an apartment and get a housing subsidy that will pay for your care there. You can decide that you want to take art classes in the community. There's a couple of I would say rules about how you can use the money, right? Because of the budget's broken up into many different categories. And I think that self-direction, you're thinking about anything that's available to the community. So if you want to do classes, you want to make sure that they're available to everybody in the community, not just people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. I think self-direction works well for many people, and I think that depending on the natural supports that you have and your family life, it can help people live in that role for a very long period of time. It's still a very young service. There's a lot of changes to that service, and there's a lot of challenges with those services too. East End Disability Associates provides, I think, about 450 people in that, supports people in that some realm of self-direction, and it's been exciting. And as I said, there's been some challenges. And I don't know if you want to jump in and share your experience.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I want to state, though, is group homes have evolved quite a bit. And I wouldn't say they're bad. I think they need to be dynamic. I think the whole system has to be more dynamic because there are different times in people's lives when things are more appropriate. like perhaps self-direction, living independently in an apartment, if you have a good circle of support and family, it's a lot of work for families to do self-direction. They're very much involved in making the choices and making things happen. They have to help the person submit receipts, and there's a lot of work to it. At some point in time, it's not bad if some people don't have that family support, and they choose to live with a group of friends in a group home. So I think, or as they get older, even with supportive apartments, I've seen people, they can live 20, 30 years independently, but just like us, as they get older, they have some trouble managing their medical appointments and their medications, and they may need a little bit more support. So maybe they come back, kind of, if we look at group homes more like assisted living than a home where everybody, we have changed. When I first started working in a group home, it was me on the week, there was a house parent during the week, me on the weekend with 8 men, and everybody had to go to the same place and do the same thing. And we were very parental toward people with intellectual disabilities. We protected them, we told them what we thought they should do. One of the things that we've done positively as a field is we've evolved. We listen to people, and we allow them to take some risk. If they want to commute independently, we teach them how to do that. We have staff in shifts now, so a couple of people can choose to do different things in a group home. So my point is, there's really no bad options. We should keep as many options as possible and allow people to make choices.
So, absolutely agree.
Yeah.
That's absolutely true.
Let me just go back a little bit. How does this affect the workforce? The direct support professionals, the nursing, we've already taken. We've got care managers now. We used to have Medicaid service coordinators. So even that's changed. How, though, the in-house staff, the direct support and the nursing staff, what's the dynamic with that? How's that changed? And you're looking sad at me, Eileen.
It's horrible. We do not have enough funding to pay direct support staff a living wage. This past year was good in that there was a lot of bonus money available, but it was one-time money. I believe it helped slow down the mass churning and turning and exodus, and it increased retention a little bit, but only temporarily. People still have a low salary for next year, and we have to know what's the long-term plan to attract and retain and give people career development. It's the same in healthcare and mental health and long-term care. We have to make this a better career for people. And nurses, we have to be able to, again, pay nurses what they might make in an acute care setting, because we're just losing them all because of the high need in hospitals.
So this morning I was watching there's an economic summit going on in Switzerland, and an American contributor talked about the two most challenged places that we have right now is with registered nurses and with truck drivers. And that, truck drivers are starting at about $110,000 a year, and nurses are making a variety of salaries, and they can kind of, call the shots with that. The problem is that we are getting older, and there's less people to take care of us in our range, right? So we do have to do something to address the nursing shortage that is going on, because what we are paying them, we're getting reimbursed through OPWDD, it's just not competitive. And then the direct support professional levels, we're still at minimum wage. Many of us are paying beyond that minimum wage because we realize that it's just not competitive, and people can't live on Long Island at $16 an hour, $15 an hour. It's really impossible. So you've got these direct support professionals who may be very committed to our field and be very interested, and they may even work 2 jobs. They may work for me and for Eileen, right, for our companies, just to get food on the table. But that's not really sustainable for a very long period of time. And the job that they're doing is a very significant job that we're asking them to assist with meal preparation, with medication administration, with transportation, with safety skills, with teaching, with just everything that you can think of to support a person. And then we have the Justice Center, and we've got all of these other things that we have to, for compliance purposes, that make it very challenging, and it is far beyond a minimum wage job.
One of the provisions in the new scheme of things is that family members can actually act as the direct support professional. I could see this being a really good thing because you've got empathy that you wouldn't or you might not have from an outsider. But you also have some issues that may arise that aren't beneficial. Would you like to talk about those?
So we have, so there's really wonderful parts to this kind of service, and self-direction has allowed people to make choices, particularly if it's the person, that they can decide who they want to work with them. So we have a lot of training for our folks that come into self-direction about what the expectation is, and the same kinds of reporting and documentation, and really having people know what the plan is for that person, I think has been very helpful. And then you have people that, if they work with people that they know very well, it's very beneficial to them and gets them opportunities that they may not have otherwise. So I think that there's been a lot of positives to self-direction. I think the fact that people can make decisions about what they want to pay within their budget. So, you may have a staff member that you've worked with you for a very long period of time, and instead of losing them because they can't afford the $16 an hour that you're paying, you have the opportunity to be able to raise that wage. And I think that's a really a good thing. And the individual with intellectual and developmental disabilities having the responsibility for hiring and also for ending relationships if they need to be ended. So it's, a co-management model that you're working with the organization and the individual. And I think that, for the most part, that's been very positive.
I think it also opens up the pool for staffing, because you can hire your brother or your aunt or your grandma, and if they have to take off from another job, it's okay because they're getting a little bit of money in their pocket. So it works well for many families.
The 2 jobs issue, having 2 jobs, it's probably been for time eternal where people have had 2 jobs. There are a lot of single moms and single dads working in the field as direct support. What do we do to help this, or what do we do to alleviate this? I mean, we can't pay $35 an hour, which would double the 16, a little bit more than double the 16. Yeah, my math wasn't so good this morning, but there's got to be some support that we can give to our direct support personnel that makes them feel more wanted and more capable of supporting that family. Ideas?
Other than dollars? I mean, it's a huge concern because people are tired, and then they have to make decisions. And if they worked 100 hours, it's very, very concerning. So whether they're working 2 or 3 jobs or they're working too much overtime, it is a huge concern. I mean, Lisa, you had a staff person get a home, right, with Habitat for Humanity, which is wonderful, but that's just one person. And we can't do that for the thousands of people we employ on Long Island. So what can we do? I don't know, maybe affordable housing opportunities is something we can work with government, not just for people with intellectual disabilities, but for staffing.
I think a lot of our individuals that work for us they qualify for many of the services that are available, like HEAP services. So you can get a tank of oil, perhaps if you're under a certain economic. I think that's really important. I think this Habitat for Humanity, we partner with them, and one of our people just happened to win the lottery. So we didn't really have influence in that, but we always invite them in and have them do workshops for our staff members. So anything that we see that we think could benefit or help the staff, we certainly try to do that. But it is a great challenge because the people that are really drawn to our community, particularly on that DSP level, are people who they're natural caretakers, and they want to be able to offer these supports, and they're dedicated. But yeah, there's many people that I know that are working 2 jobs and are single parents, have children. It is a great challenge. Many of those families have some additional family support that allows them to work the hours that they do. But it is a great challenge.
Eileen, you brought something out, though, that, if you're working so many hours, your tendency to make mistakes is there just because you're tired. We know that airline pilots have a limit of how many hours they're allowed to fly before they have to take off, and not take off, but take a break.
Right.
We really can't implement anything like that, though, because we've got constant care. I'm thinking maybe having a pool of temps, and maybe separate to share that pool. And this is just as I'm talking, to share that pool with a couple of agencies so that I'm always working. But I get that respite, and I think that respite is really important.
I agree. I don't know. I mean, there are staffing agencies. They have the same difficulty attracting talent that we do. There's just not enough people, and most of those at this point are looking to make a profit on top of that. So they're not paying people enough either.
You know, I think the other part to this is we are oftentimes functioning at the bare minimum standard. You know, I get very frustrated that we're not able to provide a level of quality that we did in the past, because we had enough staff, we had enough resources that allowed us to really help not only, you know, people develop their lives and really reach their dreams and get involved what they wanted to get involved with. And I think the beginning of COVID, we're still not out of that, getting back to community and being able to have choices about doing, you know, what needs to be done or what I want to do, you know, basically. And I think that's really hard. We're keeping people safe, but we're not really enhancing the quality that people really deserve.
We did a show actually about COVID and about the devastating effects that COVID has had on the field. And you're really smart. We have not come out of this. It's still, the effects are still there. I'd like to talk more about the individuals, about the folks that we serve. Some of the thoughts, some of the ideas that they present to you. I'd like to play basketball. And I actually had a guy say to me one time, could we go play basketball? And I found a DSP who was willing to take this guy to the park and shoot hoops. I think that the unimpaired or the temporarily unimpaired population sees our guys and they don't necessarily understand that they have wants and desires even though they're disabled. And I think that that's something that we've tried to address, or are trying to address now. Could we talk about that a little bit?
Sure.
Yeah, I think that, it depends. Let's start with employment. We're trying to develop as many employment opportunities as we can. We've found that people with everybody has different talents and skills and abilities and disabilities. We all have strengths and weaknesses. We have found some of our workers with autism have great talents, especially in technology. We started an eBay business where people donate books, CDs, records, collectible things to us, and we have people that are trained now to do e-commerce. So we have some people really good on the computer. We have some people who are good at looking them up, taking pictures of the items, listing them. Others are just good at wrapping and shipping, working in inventory. And these all will translate to jobs in the community because there's a lot of online businesses now. One of the things we're looking to do in the next year is to also get a community storefront where people can see our eBay business. Maybe we could sell things for other people, and they will see our guys at work. I think that's really important because, again, they're really good. They're really enthusiastic. They're very dedicated and loyal and hardworking. And, I've been in this field a long, long time. Lisa's been in this field a long, long time. And the more we allow people to do, the more we learn about what people are capable of doing. And there's so many creative people now coming up with different types of businesses and opportunities for our folks to work. And I just think we have to put a little more emphasis into that. So.
My wife always says, well, this has been laying around for 100 years. Sell it on eBay. And I don't know how to sell it on eBay, so this is great.
Bring it to us.
This is really
we take a little commission for our work.
Yeah, sure.
But for the most part, get rid of it. People are downsizing. Get rid of your junk.
Yeah, and it's an opportunity to really make a true contribution to the community.
Yes.
To the folks like me who have no idea what to do with eBay. Except buy stuff. Another one. Lisa?
So thinking about the people we support and some of the things that they like to do, we do a variety of things supporting a lot of people. And, one of my favorites is we have a couple of young women who really wanted to be involved with the aquarium. We live, out east, and that's where they are. And so they have the opportunity to go in and do this volunteer work, several times a week at the aquarium, and how this has just, made her life just so much fuller. And that the value that the aquarium gets from her work and her time there and her interactions with people has really just increased, what they are able to provide in the community and have a real sense of that community integration. I think that, helping people recognize whatever their dreams are, whether it's playing basketball or, we have one young man who says he's a cowboy. And so he's been working with horses and volunteering on different horse farms out east and has really, this is what he loves to do. And he's out there, whether it's cold or whether it's, breaking the ice for the horses to drink their water or whether it's, 100 degrees. That's his commitment to working with the horses. So I think that, with each person, you try to do the best you can to help them, live their fullest life.
That's important. Actually, there are a couple of horse places that do horse therapy out on Long Island.
There's lots of them now.
Yeah, much more than there ever were.
Yeah.
Which is a whole nother show, folks. Maybe we'll do a show on, we'll get Palomine and horseability or fulfillment. We're talking about fulfillment, and we sort of shifted topics and into fulfillment. With the next 5 minutes or so that we have left, what's your fulfillment as an executive director? How are you fulfilled? I used to love going to work and grabbing my guitar and interrupting a day program and having everybody yell at me, but the guys singing along. And that was part of my fulfillment, was going in and having fun. It wasn't necessarily relating to the board, which is necessary. We have to go to the board meetings. We have to get yelled at by the board. They feel like they need to do that. But what's your fulfillment as an executive director? Why did you pick this field? Why did you stay in it? And go ahead.
Well, it's easy for me. It's just the quality of people that you meet every day. I mean, I started when I was 15 years old working at camp at Nassau AHRC, summer camp. It was the people that we provide services to, I find, are just very authentic people. And yeah, they do bring you smiles and joy, and I think they're inspiring as far as, you know, when they have a job, they're so proud, and they set an example of positive work. And so are all of the people that work within this field. I mean, I just love to see the passion that our direct support staff have and the relationships they create with our folks. And I love to see the creative ideas that staff are coming up with. It just makes me so proud. I just feel like a proud mama all the time. And it's incredibly satisfying. It's challenging and frustrating and scary at times because, you know, there's medical issues and things happen, but you know, again, people are authentic, and the relationships that they have with each other, it's just a wonderful, supportive community.
So, yeah, I go into work every day is a fantastic commitment. And I have a little bit of a different experience because I started my career as a nurse. And I have an adult son named Andrew who has intellectual and developmental disability. Andrew has autism and needs a lot of support. And I knew that as a young mother, as I was raising him, that he was going to need a great deal of support throughout his life. So to get involved and found an agency and be able to provide that support and grow it over the last 30 years has been a phenomenal experience, knowing that I've been able to recognize for him this goal of creating a community of support, not just for him, but for, you know, many other people, you know, across Long Island, and be able to do these different creative things. I think for me, growing up and having an aunt that was disabled, and realizing she had no services available. She was somebody that had high ability and had, you know, was not allowed to have an education. There was no rehabilitation programs. There was nothing available to her. This was a woman that could have lived independently, had a job, had a boyfriend, got married. I mean, this was a woman that had a great ability. And I think about my aunt and how we thought about people with disabilities and the value or the disvalue that we thought about them. And then I think about my own son now and how much is available to him through the support and the way our philosophy has changed about the value that they bring back to the community is very fulfilling. And I feel a great commitment and loyalty to doing this for the rest of my life. Maybe not going to work, but for doing this kind of advocacy for the rest of my life. It's important work. It makes a difference.
It's really important. It really is important what we do. And I say we because I did it for such a long time, and I was in love with it, and I miss it. Lisa, Eileen, thank you so much. We've been colleagues for a long time, and I'm so happy that you were able to come on the show and share your thoughts.
Thank you for having us, John.
Thank you so much.
Please contact Governor Hochul and Commissioner Neefield, as well as your representatives in the New York State Assembly and Senate. Ask them to please include significant funding for direct support professionals who support people with developmental disabilities.